And welcome, folks, to a special edition of Overdrive. I am your host, Kyle Magda. A lot of racing action to get to today. Busy week of racing, second race in the Chase, going on to the last race in the contender round this weekend at Dover, NASCAR Nationwide Series at Kentucky. Also the trucks in Loudon, ARCA at Kentucky. And we have a great show for you today. Originally for Wednesday, I usually do a show for a site I write for, but it didn't happen. It's not going to happen. So instead of that, we're going to do this week, and kind of a fill-in role, I guess you can say. But other than that, there'll be another show next week. That's Speedway Digest. We'll be returning at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, October 1st, on the Speedway Digest Radio Network. So keep tuned to that. So let's just get down to business here. Just a great week of racing, and let's start with the chase for the Sprint Cup. Joey Logano becoming the second Penske driver and second driver overall to punch his ticket into the next round for the chase for the Sprint Cup, moving on to the contender round. And the race at Loudon did not have a clear-cut favorite at all. I mean, many thought that Brad Keselowski was just going to run away with it. Won the pole for the race, fastest in the first Friday practice, fastest in the first Saturday practice, and then he was second in the happy hour practice on Saturday. So really a lot of people thought that would happen, but with Brad Keselowski wound up taking 4 tires on the first pit stop, it kind of mired him mid-pack because a lot of the drivers took 2 tires, but really there was not a favorite throughout the race. Kevin Harvick led some of it, Joey Logano led some of it, Brad Keselowski actually came back from a spin, but I think the topic of the day was cautions. 15 cautions fell at the race at Loudon, which is a record for 2014. The previous was at Martinsville back in March with 14. So a lot of action in this race, a lot of strategy toward the end of the race. So many yellows, really helping those who stayed out on lap 212 who pit it for the final time. Just outside the fuel window, but when you have enough cautions, they will make it to the end. So kind of helped guys like Brad Keselowski, like Kyle Larson, some guys who stayed out, Brian Vickers, who ran up in the top 5 all day. It helped those guys try to make it, and it felt like the race was never going to end Sunday. I kind of expected Joey to work his way back up. I really thought the race fell into the hands of Jamie McMurray and Jimmy Johnson because they both took 2 tires on a later stop than some of those other ones who stopped on lap 212 with 88 laps to go. Had better fuel mileage, and I didn't know if any of them were going to make it or not. So when you have that, I mean, you never know how many cautions you'll get, and it just happened to be that way, that there were a lot of yellows, and that kind of helped the leaders out. So, but going back to what I was saying was, for some reason, Joey Logano just sliced his way up to the front and just drove a heck of a race. It fell right into his hands. Then toward the end, there was some cautions, and once he got to the lead, he never gave it back up. Getting around Brad Keselowski, getting around Kevin Harvick. Harvick led the most laps on the day, but actually wound up finishing third. So, I think those restarts, all Joey Logano had to do was nail the restarts, and he was gone. And he was. So, a second Penske driver getting into the chase for the Sprint Cup, and now the only 2 drivers in the next round that are guaranteed a spot are both from Penske. So, but you're still a lot of drivers up in the points. A nice surprise these last 2 weeks has been Kyle Larson. I am not as surprised. This team has had speed all season long. Just had some bad luck middle of the season. Really had some strong runs, and then had a really bad 3-race stretch, which was Sonoma, Kentucky, and Daytona from late June to early July. And what happened there was he had the finishes, but like I said, just could not finish the races. I think he had a tire go down in Kentucky, had transmission problems at Sonoma, got into a big crash in Daytona. And then he Loudon in July kind of got his season back on track, finishing third, and then having a strong run at the Brickyard. So, and then winning the pole at Pocono. And Pocono was about 11th place finish, and then he finished 4th at Watkins Glen. For Kyle Larson, being a rookie, but he has run road courses in the NASCAR Nationwide Series before, so he has some road course experience. But I think, in my opinion, the one that really hurt him was Michigan in August, because he had a good car, kind of had a pit road incident with Dale Earnhardt Jr., kind of set him back in the field, and then the tire went down, and his car just engulfed in flames. So really hurt him with that, what had happened there. So, but Kyle Larson's going to finish the season strong. A third-place run at Chicagoland. Nearly won the race. If it wasn't for cautions coming out, I think he had a really good car in the longer runs. And then finishing second at Loudon, and on the same strategy as Brad Keselowski, wound up finishing 7th. And Kyle Larson stayed up there. So I think he had the best finish of any driver at Loudon this season. Best average finish at 2.5. So a lot. That kid has a really good future in Kyle Larson. I would keep your eye on him for the rest of the chase. And same thing with Jamie McMurray. Led laps, his Ganassi teammate, led laps last week at Chicagoland, got a top 10, and he finished 4th on Sunday. So you definitely want to keep your eyes out for him. So we're gonna stay in Loudon right now. We're gonna switch to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And one name you may want to consider, you're gonna hear for a long time, is Cole Custer. Now, going into the weekend, Cole Custer was perfect at Loudon. He won the K&N Pro Series East race there the year before, and Loudon's a good track for him. So, but I actually wound up picking Cole Custer to win the race, and I did not expect him to do as well as I thought. I wound up winning the pole for the race, and then wound up dominating on the day. Led the first 140 laps or so. I think pit strategy might have just prevented Cole from winning a few more laps. I think he led all but 3 laps in the first 140 or some or so. There was 175 laps in the race. And then there was a late pit stop, and everybody decided to come in. And, mostly everyone took 2. Cole Custer took 4. And, I mean, that race goes green. He doesn't win the race because it's just, you have so much time to get back up to the front at a track like Loudon. You need so much track position to get up there and battle for the win. And having that dominant performance and having to work his way back. And he had to help with a couple cautions. There was an incident between Brendan Newberry and Darrell Wallace Jr., and then there was another caution coming out, and it really helped him get back up to the front. And then the final restart, Matt Crafton spun his tires, and Cole Custer drove away from everybody and got clear of Darrell Wallace Jr. and just drove off in the sunset. And Cole Custer becomes the youngest winner in NASCAR's top 3 series at 16 years old. I think he's really going to be a name to be reckoned with because he's had strong trucks. Had a good run at Mosport a few weeks ago. Just got taken out by Alex Tagliani. I mean, it's the end of the race, and that'll happen. And I think once he wins, which he did on Saturday, I think a lot of them are going to come. And I think the next race we will see him at is Martinsville in October. He ran there in March, and we'll see him again there come October. So, then we go to the NASCAR Nationwide Series with. I don't think you'd expect who win this race because when I went in the weekend, I think that the top guys I was looking at was Brian Scott, Ty Dillon, and Trevor Bayne. If you take 2 and 3, which is Scott and Dillon's numbers, and you multiply them, you get Trevor Bayne's number 6. But that's not the reason why I picked them because I really thought all 3 drivers have been strong on 1.5 tracks. And they have shown the speed. Joe Gibbs Racing just hasn't shown it this year compared to last year with Kyle Busch winning as many races as he did. And just they haven't had the speed. And, of course, this weekend, they had Justin Boston, ARCA competitor, making his Nationwide Series debut. And also having Sam Hornish Jr. in his final start in the number 54 Monster Energy Toyota Camry. So Sam showed some speed early on. It seems like these Gibbs cars show speed early on in a race. Take Charlotte May, for example. Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth leading the opening laps, and they're not having it at the end. And having a Turner Motorsports car and Kyle Larson winning the race. So, I mean, they've had this speed on the short tracks. All of Joe Gibbs Racing's tracks, with the exception of Elliott Sadler at Talladega, they have all won on tracks 1 mile or less. So this is going to Kyle Busch's 4 wins on the season. Last win was at Richmond, leading every single lap. And I just don't know. I think it's something to do with Gibbs. And I've seen it in the Cup Series as well. They just have not shown the speed on those tracks. And they're working on it. I really think that Joe Gibbs Racing is going to be a very scary organization come 2015. Of course, with the addition of Carl Edwards and, of course, with Daniel Suarez, who's starting to learn more. Actually ran the ARCA race this past weekend in Kentucky, but we'll get to that later. So, Going back to Nationwide at Kentucky, I didn't expect what I thought. I mean, early on, Ty Dillon won the pole, led the race, and then Brendan Gaughan took it right from him, his Richard Childress Racing teammate. And the surprise, and Brendan Gaughan likes those kind of tracks you can run the high lane, and Kentucky is definitely one of them. Because, there are some bumps in the track, but most drivers like the track not to be repaved. They didn't put on the best Cup race in June, unfortunately. I think it's more suited for trucks, for Nationwide, for ARCA. They put on really great shows when they're there every single time. And I really applaud NASCAR and ARCA for doing that, but I just don't see it being a Cup track. But going back to the race, and a lot of strategy, of course, at Kentucky. A lot like Loudon, you want to have track position so you can be up there and challenge for the win. And Brendan Gaughan, pretty much like Cole Custer, took 4 tires, except this was early in the race. Kind of dropped back, but he stayed in the top 10 and actually worked his way to the top 5 late in the race. He stayed within contention all night, and Ty Dillon pretty much led most of the race. And he was putting on a very similar performance that his brother Austin did back in June 2012, the Nationwide Series race. Austin led 192 laps of the 200 to win his first career win in that series, and actually wound up winning the race in September as well. So the only driver has swept the races at Kentucky. Actually, not the first team to sweep. 2 teams have swept at Kentucky in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Of course, the 3 team with Austin Dillon back in 2012, and then the number 22 Penske team in 2013, with Brad Keselowski winning in June and Ryan Blaney winning his first race in September. So, races coming down to the end. We get a late race caution, and of course, everybody comes on the pit road. Ty Dillon taking the 2 tires, goes out of the pits, beats his RCR teammate Brian Scott. Now, keep in mind, Brian Scott's been running second to him most of the night and has kept him in sights for a while, believe it or not. So it's pretty much, it's an RCR kind of night. So restart happens. Ty Dillon just does not get going. Then Chase Elliott, your NASCAR Nationwide Series points leader and leading rookie, winds up taking the lead and going back at a track that he hasn't done really well at. Of course, struggling a little bit at Kentucky in June, finishing, I think, outside the top 10 and getting into a little incident with Trevor Bayne. And actually had a good run in the ARCA race in 2013 until a fuel pump issue sidelined the number 9 car. So really, you see it there that Chase Elliott has been adapting really well. Even on tracks he hasn't performed the best at, has stayed in contention all night to win. And stayed within the top 5. Like I said, both Richmond races he finished second, but he stayed right in the top 5. So he had at least a shot to win the race. And of course, we have a number of restarts at Kentucky. And in the end, it's pretty much just a battle between Chase Elliott and Ty Dillon. And the 2 get to racing, and then leaving the outside wide open for Brendan Gaughan. And in the next half lap or so, Brendan Gaughan, with about 5 laps to go, drives away. Clears Chase Elliott and goes to the lead and winds up winning the race. He's in the same place he was when the early stages of the race, in the lead. And he went on to win his second NASCAR Nationwide Series career victory. His first, of course, coming earlier this year at Road America. Alrighty, folks, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to recap ARCA and also talk about some of the news and notes that have happened already during the week. So you stay tuned. Overdrive here on Spreaker. folks, we're back after a short break, and I want to get back to what I was saying. Busy weekend at Kentucky, of course, when you have the NASCAR Nationwide Series. This is the third year they've done it. They've had the NASCAR Nationwide Series by itself, and I actually had the trucks with them in 2012, and then they actually took a truck race away and off the schedule, so the trucks only run there in June now. So, like I said, with that great weekend, you also have the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards running there as well. So, and they have put on great shows in the past, and they came back last year and they put on one heck of a show with Corey LaJoie coming out and winning the race. And there wasn't a clear-cut winner in that race with Corey LaJoie, of course, winning it. I mean, fastest in practice, but it really swapped. Of course, Chase Elliott leading, Eric Jones, Chad Boat. Even Spencer Gallagher was running up there, and he's had some tough luck in the series, but he has been close. But, of course, this time around you have some different players. You have Mason Mitchell, who started his own team this year. You have Grant Enfinger, who switched teams at midseason and is still running as high as he is in points. And, of course, with John West Townley trying to run the ARCA and truck schedules, didn't really work out this year, of course, with the bad accident he had at Pocono and ARCA qualifying. Kind of made him miss a few races, so kind of shifted his attention away from the ARCA series and more to the truck series, because the truck series was at Loudon this past weekend. So Brennan Poole coming in and stepping in for him, the driver, coach, and spotter at Venerini Motorsports. And really, when he steps in a car, he makes the most of it. And he's had some really good runs this year, just has not had the finishes for it. Pocono in August, he and his teammate Justin Boston banking on the rain, it never comes. And wound up pitting, and it kind of cost him the race. And then he had a few other starts. Third place at Michigan, at Berlin, Michigan, for Brennan Poole in the 15, subbing for John West Townley. And then having a few other runs just not go his way. And, of course, he's back in the 15. And Justin Boston goes out to win the pole for his sponsor race, this Loop 150 at the Kentucky Speedway. So, with that, you see that the Venerini cars are fast. And you also have another driver in Daniel Suarez making his ARCA debut. Now, Daniel Suarez is going to have a full-time NASCAR Nationwide Series ride with Joe Gibbs Racing and sponsor Eris Communications in 2015. Now, is this the right move or not? I don't know, but we will find out next year. But I would not be shocked to see Daniel Suarez in some more nationwide races this year. And he's also going to run a part-time truck schedule as well for Kyle Busch Motorsports in 2015, just to get his feet wet in the series. So, Daniel Suarez actually showed really great speed in that race, led a lot of it. And another guy I don't want to count out either is Ben Rhodes, running the home state race for his state of Kentucky. And really, I think he was looking forward to this one, because I know I talked to him at Loudon, and he said he might run Kentucky, and he wound up running it. So it was nice to see him running that race. And I think it's good for him, like I said, the home state crowd, to see their own taking it out. It was really fast during the test, Ben Rhodes, really quick. And actually led a lot of the race as well. And didn't lead as many laps as Suarez, but he led a lot of the race. And came down late in the race, came down to a pit stop with about 20-some laps to go. Comes into pit, goes from 12th to 3rd in a matter of laps, and then gets taken out in an accident. So really, that 41 car had a great speed, but just not enough to seal the deal. And I'll have to wait till the next start. So, but like I was saying, when some of those drivers pit it, had to work their way back up, Brennan Poole takes the lead when those drivers pit, and he did not relinquish it. And Brennan Poole got his first win of 2014 with that number 15 Zaxby's Toyota. So Brennan Poole has also become the only driver in the last 4 years to win an ARCA race every single year. And I really think what this does, at least in my opinion, I think this driver deserves a shot. It's in a big-time equipment because he has shown the speed. I remember watching him in Pocono the one year. He put an annihilation on the field, winning the pole, leading 77 of the 80 laps en route to victory. So he has shown the speed, just not not always ending up in victories, but when he ran full-time ARCA in 2012, he definitely was a contender for the championship, running high every single week. And, some races just not in his favor. But I think though when you see this with Brendan Poole, I think he has a really good chance. Someone could take a chance on him. He would not disappoint because I've seen a lot of drivers who go through the Venturini stable and then wind up at Joe Gibbs Racing. I've seen Joey Logano now with Penske racing in the Cup Series. Go through them. I've seen guys like Brian Scott, Justin Allgaier, just some of the few names that have had success in those cars that have gone on to bigger and better things. And like I said with Justin Boston, running double duty this past weekend in Kentucky with the ARCA Racing NASCAR Nationwide Series. He shows he can get it done. He had ninth place, believe it or not, he had ninth place finishes in both races this past weekend at Kentucky. He finished ninth in the Venturini car in the ARCA race, and he finished ninth in the number 20 Sloop Camry in the Kentucky race. So Kentucky, I like the track. I'll be honest with you, but I just don't believe it is capable for Cup cars running on it. They have not produced one exciting race during 4 years they've run. I like Atlanta a lot. I know they took the date from Atlanta to put it there. I still don't like that move because Atlanta is a very worn out racetrack, more worn out than Kentucky. Last time they repaved Atlanta was 1997, and they have put on some fantastic finishes since they've redone it. And I like both the old and the current Atlanta. They're both great layouts, but you can't have everything. So Atlanta's been a good track in general these last 17 years or so, and I hope Kentucky can hopefully fix it. And if they do stand in the Cup schedule, it'll be a great race. But switching gears now, we go to NASCAR news and notes for the week, and the biggest one for today, Wednesday, September 24th, 2014, is the concluding investigation of the Tony Stewart, Kevin Ward Jr. incident. When the Ontario County Police Department looked over everything, and then of course taking the trial to a higher court, after all was said and done, is that Tony Stewart was not charged for any of his actions that night on August 9th, 2014. And what the interesting thing was is that when the press conference happened, that the DA of Ontario County, New York, said that Kevin Ward Jr. was under I don't know how to word this. I guess he got high from smoking marijuana when that happened, and if you see in the video, he walked a good while to get to Tony Stewart's car, and I think that evidence there, that kind of just takes away a lot from Kevin Ward's innocence, because I know the family. I've been looking at stuff that they're going to try and get a civil suit. I just don't think they're going to win it, because with what the evidence that they presented, with what Kevin Ward did, I just don't see it happening. And with what's going on, of course, with Kevin Ward and his family, I feel you can't bring somebody back to life, and I'm well aware of that. It's unfortunate what happened, but when you're under when someone's under something like that, and police always know it, you can act very differently, and that's not good for Kevin Ward Jr. what happened there. And I know people. I've been reading stuff today. People have been pushing for that, to have drug testing at short tracks. I'm not sure if it's feasible or not. Unfortunately, as much as NASCAR has done a great job with it, and you've seen with all the people who have gone through the Road to Recovery program and have came back, it's been outstanding. And I pretty much started by Kevin Harvick, drug testing his employees. I think that's absolutely fantastic what they're doing, and because they need that helps them, and it keeps their workers and their teams in tip-top shape. But going back to that, like I said, I feel for the Ward family. You can't they lost a family member, and like I said, my heart hurts for that. I was, being at Watkins Glen the morning of when that happened, and the morning after it happened, and knowing what's going on, it doesn't hit you till about 2 or 3 hours after you've been in the media center, and it hurts. It hurts a lot. And I hope, and I'll pray. I'll keep praying for the Ward family, and I hope everything's okay with them, and I hope they can get through this. And like I said, the legal terms, we'll let them deal with the legal, with the law, what they want to do. Like I said, with a civil suit or something, that's going to be up to them. That's their decision. And I know Tony Stewart feels terrible about this, even though he's been cleared of all his charges. He's still it's gonna hurt him for a while, and I hope everyone can just move on and we go back to racing. So I hope we can just go back to life. And like I said, Tony Stewart is gonna hurt him forever, but he'll be okay. He'll get through it, and he can focus on his racing now, and I think it'll help him majorly with what's going on. So I just want to also just get to a few previews this weekend for Dover. Of course, we have the Sprint Cup Series there, NASCAR Nationwide Series, also the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series East. Actually, the East is there, but they have already crowned a champion in Ben Rhodes, who we just talked about, run ARCA, Kentucky, but he'll try to look to win that finale. I don't think a champion has ever won the finale before in the Can-Am Pro Series East. Oh, excuse me, it wasn't at Dover, but last year it was. And Dylan Kwasniewski did win the championship last year and won the season finale at Road Atlanta, which is no longer on the schedule for 2014. So I think it's going to be a great race to go to. If you can get out that race, go to it. You have Sprint Cup qualifying, and then, of course, afterwards, the K&N East race, the Drive Sober 150. I think they usually run about 4:30 or 5, so you might want to tune into that. And, of course, the NASCAR Nationwide Series will be at Dover. Kyle Busch won last time out. Joey Logano won last fall. I bet you those two drivers who are both entered will both be factors come Saturday. But you want to keep an eye on Trevor Baynes because he ran second in May, and you're still looking for that first win of the season. So you're going to want to keep your eyes out for those three guys. They finished 1, 2, 3 in May. So Dover's a great racetrack. I've been there before. It's tricky because there have been some really big wrecks there in the past, and they have collected a lot of cars. That's what the Monster does. The Monster Mile does it. The Monster will come up and grab you, and it'll tear your car up. That's just how it is. So, and then of course you have the Cup Series running at Dover. It's their annual stop in the fall. And of course, they ran there in June, and Jimmy Johnson once again won again at Dover, dominating on the day with Brad Keselowski coming home in second. But keep in mind, though, the 48 hasn't shown the speed, but will the 48 car wake up this weekend at Dover? A lot of people are picking them, so we'll see what happens come Sunday. And also the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series for a standalone event at Las Vegas. Timothy Peters is the defending winner of the race, and that will be exciting as well with that championship coming down to the wire. Top 4 separated by 35 points. So I just want to say thank you all for listening. Like I said, Speedway Digest will be back next week, 8 o'clock. Going to be a great show, and until we meet again, have a great week.